and you're primed to get scored on a little bit. Let's talk about what Ben Arbuckle had to say about the Oklahoma Sooners going into the 2025 season, coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, thanks again for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there tuning in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Go check out some of the bonus stuff we did on Tuesday. I did a live reaction show to the Brent Venable, Ben Arbuckle's press conferences. My brain is tired.
Podcast that
my mouth is tired. Yeah, the Brent Venables podcast. That would be great. Let me just
love it.
I mean, Brent Venables is basically a podcast every time you ask him a question. I also had a great interview with Bob Sturm of The Ticket in Dallas-Fort Worth, 96.7, 1310 The Ticket. If you're from the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex and you listen to sports radio, you know who Bob Sturm is. Had 30 minutes of great Oklahoma and SEC football talk, so go check out that episode, downloaded wherever you get your podcast. Jay, what stood out to you about what Ben Arbuckle had to say on Tuesday?
For the first time since the last regime, the OC is going to be on the sideline, which is interesting to me because his reasoning was really good. He says that he wants to look his players in the eye after the play. He wants to get right there next to them and be able to talk to them immediately and not wait for a phone call to happen. John Kuzieski as well as Joe Finley will both be up at the booth while he's down there with the players having those conversations. And I really love that. I love that he's going to be that heavily involved. He'll be able to see from the top and he'll have eyes at the top that he will be able to trust to help him to navigate things in that view. But at the same time, he'll be able to go and have those conversations immediately with John Mateer, with the running backs, with the offensive line, with everybody. He'll be able to talk to the coaches right there and try to figure out what's the next move. And so usually those coaches that are down there on the sidelines, we've seen a lot of success out of that. I mean, Lincoln Riley had good success from that. You've seen that with Steve Sarkisian over there at Texas. That's pretty successful. Lane Kiffin, he looked pretty solid when he was doing the same thing. Josh Heupel, when he was running the plays at Tennessee, there's a lot of success that can happen from there. Some guys like to be at the top, be able to really just see the full view, but he'll have, like I said, those additional eyes with Kuzieski up there with John Finley. Pretty stoked to see that he's going to be down there. That to me was like, okay, I like your reasoning. You're taking control of this, and that is what we've needed coming into the season.
And I like what it does for a guy like Michael Hawkins Jr. as well, because if the offensive coordinator's up in the booth and he's calling down to the sideline, there's only one ear that gets to hear that conversation, and that's the starting quarterback. Your backup quarterback or your developmental quarterback doesn't get to be privy to those conversations that are happening in game. That's very valuable information for a guy like Michael Hawkins Jr. Well, now he gets to hear everything that Ben Arbuckle and John Mateer talk about because he's going to be right there.
Yep.
Listening in on every bit of it. And so that's great for him as well. I like that. What did you think about what Ben Arbuckle had to say about Jaren Kanik?
Kanik went out there and did what he needed to do to get the job. Hardest worker. And to me, it's a testament of Kanik in general. We knew that about him. That's the good thing, is that it's been reinforced and pointed out from everybody, because Kanik came here to play a position that he never played before. And he tried to figure out, and he just couldn't get to that point. But still a freakish athlete, still did some cool stuff. I mean, heck, he got a touchdown. He got a touchdown last year on defense. Picked up that fumble on the special teams. Boom, took it to the house. So, but Kanik, to me, was one player that I was just hoping we'd figure out something for him. And now he's starting at tight end. It looks like they have a place for him to play. And don't be surprised if that dude balls out in that game. Remember, he ran like a 10-3 in the 100 in high school. Dude's a blazer. He's still fast, and I think he still has that speed, even with the size, the additional bulk he's put on. I think he's put on at least 30 pounds since he's gotten here. Don't be surprised if Kanik goes out there and looks like a beast, because he was a quarterback, running back. He was a lot of stuff in high school. And I think that moving him to tight end and he figured that out, it's going to be a game changer.
Yeah, he has the potential to be a big matchup problem for opposing linebackers, because there's not going to be a lot of linebackers that have the same kind of speed and athleticism that he has.
Nope.
So I'll be really excited to see him on the field in a full-time tight end role. He just said, Ben Arbuckle said that Jiren Kanik just caught everything that came his way. Like, he made plays every time that he had an opportunity to make a play. So not only was he busting his tail on and off the field in the film room, but when the ball came his way, he made the play. And that goes a long way. Like, obviously you want a guy that's going to work hard off the field, and you want somebody that's going to make a play when they get the opportunity to make a play. I envision for him, and I'd really love to see him land at a place like San Francisco or Miami with a Kyle Shanahan or a Mike McDaniels, because what could they do with a guy that's his size, with his speed and athleticism in an offense? Like, he could be something really special. At wide receiver, I thought the conversation there was really interesting between Keontez Lewis, Ivan Carrion, and Elijah Thomas at that X spot. Ben Arbuckle was asked specifically about that, and he just said he loved the way that those guys just attacked fall camp, Keontez Lewis in particular. Yeah,
Keontez Lewis is one that's going to get a lot of opportunities, and I am so excited. I've talked about him heavily, y'all. He's been one player that I mentioned a lot that I believe has an opportunity to be really, really special on this roster. We know Zion Kearney coming back now that he's healthy gave him some props, but biggest thing here is going to be Keontez Lewis is going to go out there, and him with Burks, it's going to be so much fun to watch on the outside. Just be prepared. I think John Mateer is going to have him a lot of fun now that John Mateer has taken the opportunity to really spend time with these guys. And even Mateer talked about that in an interview recently. You know, in the spring, he just got to know everybody, but going through the summer and now in fall camp, he feels like they've built a perfect bond to where they're going to go out there and cook. That's a huge deal to me.
And then at running back, they went on and explained more about why the running back depth chart looks the way it looks. And it just is because Javonte Barnes and Torrey Blaylock were available and busted their tail and looked really, really good. Brent Venables said it's the best Javonte Barnes has looked since he's been a Sooner.
It is. And so he took advantage of the opportunity of getting all the snaps. You know, I spent some time out. Xavier Robinson, Taylor Tatum is still down. So the good thing is that we have a senior running back who's run here for some years, and he's able to actually play and lead the way. In this game, this will be one he'll probably do similar to what he did against Maine. He ran for 200 yards against Maine last year. He may run for 200 yards again in this game. So he'll end up doing what I said Jaden I was gonna do. So we'll see how that turns out. But heck, Torrey Blaylock may end up being that dude. I don't know. Let's put it this way. One thing also that Ben Arbuckle mentioned is his excitement about watching the offensive line compete. Mm-hmm. Now, that has been a big question from everybody. The question is, who are the clear starters? And they don't have that fully yet, but the expectation is that will happen very soon because they actually have a lot of guys that they can play and feel comfortable playing. That, to me, is the one thing that's the testament of the recruiting and the scouting of the players that we have, is that we actually feel comfortable with, you know, any of the 10 players that we know can play being on the field.
It's one of those good problems to have. Yes. They just want to see more.
Yep.
And we're going to get
we
to
had
see
it before.
More. Yeah. Anything else stand out to you from what Ben Arbuckle had to say when he spoke with the media?
No, I think really that offensive line one was one that really just made me feel a lot more comfortable. Because we know how tough Bill Beatonbow is just in general with that position. And he works those boys. But the fact that Arbuckle was excited about him and the reason why we knew they are fine is that they actually saw success against this defense. The defense didn't take it lightly on them. They made them work for it. Last year, we didn't hear that. Last year, it was literally the defense just won nonstop. We didn't hear anything about the offense. And so now I'm comfortable. I'm a lot more comfortable in what's coming up than I was last year.
And we have an important request. Locked On wants to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcasts even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes the survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thanks for helping us out here on the Locked On Network. Coming up next, we're going to talk about the commitment of T-Ron Richardson to the Oklahoma Sooners and what it means for the Oklahoma Sooners.